Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think people don't realize like it is hard to, I mean, it's kind of Lisa says this about herself, but it is hard to like go from one thing to the next, as you know, in this business of Hollywood. So to be an actress and then be a housewife and to have a long run for 8 years and then kind of remind everyone, like I think for me, I mean, she's done a lot of things since, but I think this movie kind of reminds people like Lisa Rinna was an actual actress for a really long time. Like, say what you want about her as a housewife, she's a real actress. Like, this is a real part. She is acting. I think it kind of reminds the world of like, let's not count out Lisa Rinna just yet, people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, she was on Housewives for a reason, right? I mean, she was a fire starter. And one thing I've really come to love about her is she's so authentic. You will always know where you stand with her. But she's also really kind. Like I was texting her this morning, and, I realized it was very early. And although I knew she was on the East Coast, so she texted back right away. And she just is, she's that friend that will heart your text and not leave you hanging. But you're right, she is an actor, and I think also too. I think when you've had a long career like she's had, you're going to have highs and lows no matter what. And you see these actors, with these brilliant careers, and then they just kind of go away, and you have to reinvent yourself. And so I think for Lisa, there was a phase where she was going to reinvent herself in the reality world. And let's face it, that's, a lot of unscripted TV is being done right now. That's a big business. But then when she had the opportunity, she made herself open to, acting projects again. And I agree. I think, the Melrose Place team should attach her lickety split. And, I'm hoping for a sequel to Mommy Meanest. And, we'll see what else comes her way. But she is just somebody who is willing to do the work. And so I think that's why she continues to shine.
Now, I already know the answer to this because you told me in a DM, but like the whole Housewives thing, like you weren't, I mean, were you aware of like the magnitude of Housewives, of like this culture, like what Bravo is, like the fandom, how they write hard? Like, were you aware of it all?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, it's part of my job. Like even if I don't watch something religiously, like I need to know, what's happening in pop culture. And so yeah, I'm always, reading about it. And I have a billion friends that are obsessed with the Housewives. Like it's, I'm almost a little shunned when I don't know exactly what happened in the last episode. But I was definitely aware of, because, just like people were like, oh my God, you don't listen to Behind the Velvet Rope. That was bad. Now I do.
Now,
Um,
listen, you have about 1,003 episodes that you can like just
I actually only have
like,
about 900 because I've been
okay,
listening and I've been
okay.
and watching, and I really like it. This is not a paid endorsement. It really is like comfort food, because you're just kind of listening and you almost feel like you're in on the conversation, and you're like, wait, I wasn't with Sandra Bernhard and him, but okay, I feel like I was. But no, it's great. So yes, I was absolutely aware of the phenomenon. And what was interesting is when people found out that Lisa Rinna was in the movie, you'd even get a few comments from people that maybe saw her on the show, and the way that she left the show, they had certain opinions, which was very interesting to me. And since becoming friends with Lisa, I got to know a different perspective of it. And, one of the things I love about her is she is just not bitter about anything. Like you can throw shade her way. She gets it. She knows there's people that have certain opinions of her, and she's very comfortable with that. And I think we almost need a little bit more of that in the world, right? Okay, you're allowed not to like me, and I'm allowed to go do something else. And so yes, but I was very aware of the Housewives phenomenon, very aware of how she left the show, and that people were very, very opinionated about it.
Did you get those people saying like, beware, like this is your actress you're going to work with, watch out, because of Housewives?
Yep, there was there was an actor who was like, "Oh, good luck, get ready, blah blah blah." And it was interesting because I'm like, oh. were you paying attention? Because I feel like if 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 something went down with Lisa, I feel like I'd be able to say, let's talk this out or let's figure this out, you know? And listen, we know unscripted, they all have writing staffs, they all have producers, they're all cut to, you know, be explosive. That's why we love to watch. And that's that they're cast for these kind of personalities that are going to be outrageous. So, you know, you got to have respect for that process and respect for what comes out and not be tied, not have your ego tied to it, right? And so I think with in Lisa's case, you know, she's very secure. She has a great marriage with her husband. My husband is very similar. He's just like a total dude in tech, loves outdoors and nature. My idea of roughing it is slow room service. So we're completely opposite. And I remember her saying, "Oh, you got a mountain man." And I'm like, "Oh, I kind of did." Like he's just so super secure in himself, which allows me to be me. And Harry and Lisa are the same way, right? He's just, and I think when you have that security, when you have that home base that's really real, and they've been married a long time, have their two gorgeous daughters. I think when you have that base, it just allows you to then not take on everything that is thrown at you, even if it's for scandal's sake, right? Again, that's when the Housewives hits a crescendo, is when shit hits the fan. And so there's always going to be somebody that's going to be framed as the villain, or maybe as somebody who's the person who instigated it all. But that's part of the business, you know. And she sure wasn't afraid to play a role like Madeline and Mommy Meanest, who, you know, you're hard pressed to find worthy things about her. I mean, she plays it as so sick, which is great, you know. But she's not a very likable character. She's fun to watch, but not likable.
Right. And I think I even read in one interview where, like, I mean, I think that's your goal as an actress, right? To like take a character who's not likable and, you know, like I think Lisa did some interview where she said, you know, this woman, Madeline, truly thinks that she's doing the right thing. Like, right. She
Yeah,
thinks her motivations are right, even though they clearly are not for those who have watched the movie, and everyone else should watch the movie. So, right,
yeah,
like
you got to
that's
watch it.
your goal as an actress, to kind of take a not likable person and make them not really likable, but as human as possible, because the woman herself, Madeline, thinks she's doing the right thing.
That's right. And that starts on the page. It starts with the script. You can't write, I mean, you can, and people have, but my goal is to never write the villain as the villain, because the villain doesn't know they're the villain. You know, I mentioned that I had some severe abuse in my past, and I actually wrote about it in a book. But I've come to realize over time that my mother was very mentally ill. You know, she didn't wake up in the morning and be like, okay, my to-do list, ruin my kids' lives. What